Hello, Bridgewater College Teacher Education Program students. This is the first in a series of screencasts that will show you how to use the rectangle model on the SmartBoard to teach students about fractions. It turns out that the rectangle model is a real handy tool to enable students to visualize the kinds of things that we do with fractions, such as finding equivalent fractions, adding fractions, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing them. And it also turns out that the SmartBoard gives you a very handy way to demonstrate this. So in this first screencast, we're going to look at finding equivalent fractions. So here's our SmartBoard screen, and you might notice that I have a yellow work area. At the bottom of the screen, I have a rectangle that I can drag onto my work area, and I have a vertical and a horizontal divider. So let's start by having our students find an equivalent fraction to 2/3. Okay, what we'll do is we'll drag the rectangle onto the work area, and we're going to divide that rectangle using the horizontal or vertical dividers. I'll pick the vertical one, and I'm going to divide that rectangle into 3 parts. Now, we remember that 2/3 represents a fraction where 3 tells you how many parts the item has been divided into, and 2 is how many parts we're considering. So I'm going to color my 2/3 part of the picture. And to do so, I'll use the SmartBoard's Creative Pen. And I think I'll pick the pen that has the multicolors in it, just because that's nice and bright. So I'll color this third and this third. So I have colored 2/3 of the rectangle. Again, the top number represents how many parts are colored. The bottom number or denominator represents how many parts the whole was divided into. Okay, now we're going to use the other divider. So I'll grab my arrow tool and I'll take my horizontal divider and I'll put it up here. And now you can see that we've now divided the whole into 6 equal parts. So how many are colored? 4. How many in all? 6. So we would say that 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. And again, notice I haven't changed the amount colored any, so we still have the same amount colored. That's why we say that 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. Let's put up some more dividers. Let me grab my horizontal divider this time and put one there, and I'll put another one down here. Now you might notice we've divided the original whole into 12 parts. We could count them: 3, 6, 9, 12. Of those, how many are colored? 8. So now we could say that 2/3 is equivalent to 8/12. I'm going to remove one of my dividers. How about if I remove the one out of the middle? I'll just click on it and hit the delete key on my keyboard, and I'll slide this one down just a little. I'll slide this one up just a little. Once again, I have divided the whole now into an equal number of parts, equal size, namely 9. Of the 9, how many are colored? 6. So we can say that 2/3 is equivalent to 6/9. So we've seen how to use a divider tool to create equivalent fractions. Let's take a practical example, and let's start all over again. Now, to start all over again, I'm simply going to highlight all of my screen and hit the delete key. And now we're starting with a blank screen. This time I'm going to take a more practical problem. Carrie Jo has a recipe she wants to make, and she notices that the recipe calls for 1 3/4 cup of milk. But when she looks in her kitchen, she can't find the cup measure that would allow her to quickly measure out 1 3/4 cups of milk. In fact, all she can find is a 1/8 measuring cup. So what we're asking is, how many eighths would 1 3/4 be equivalent to? And to do so, let's go down and drag our rectangle up. Now we're going to need 2 rectangles this time, because this time we're talking about more than one. Let's divide the second rectangle up into fourths, and maybe the quick way to do that is first to divide it into halves and then divide the halves into fourths. We'll use our coloring pen again, and I'll use the fancy coloring pen, and I'll color in 3/4. So there's 1/4, here's 2/4, and here's 3/4. I'm going to need to color in the original whole as well, but before I do so, how about if I divide it into fourths, just like I did the whole on the right? So I'll grab the vertical tool, and I'll divide it into fourths using the same technique. Okay, so now I'll color this one as well. I'll grab my pen, and I'll color. And of course I'm going to color all of these because we're starting with 1 3/4 cups. Here's the 1, and here's 3/4. Now you might notice that if she could have found a 1/4 cup measure, she would need to use 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But she couldn't find that 1/4 a cup measure. All she could find is her 1/8 a cup measure. So let's grab the horizontal tool. Let's divide each of these into 1/8 now. And we'll do so by putting our horizontal line in the middle. And notice that I've divided each hole into 8s. There are 8 boxes here. There are 8 in each hole here, of which 6 are colored. So how many 8s in all do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. We have 14 8s. So 1 3/4 is equivalent to 14 8s. Now certainly when you're teaching this to students, this is not the only lesson you'll cover with them. Sure, tomorrow we'll learn how to convert the mixed number to an improper fraction, and we'll learn the trick of multiplying the numerator and denominator by 2/2 to get 14 8s. But for today, what we're emphasizing is simply the concept. We want the picture of 1 3/4 and the picture of 14 8s to be clear in the students' minds, so that they'll understand when we teach them the mathematical technique for converting 1 3/4 to 14 8s. In the next screencast, we're going to learn how to add fractions both with like and unlike denominators. See you then.